Hello, today I'm going to show you how to make this pendant right here. Starting out with about 7 inches of 20 gauge wire, 3 pieces. I like to have a little extra in my length, so it gives you more flexibility. And then I just have a regular spring clamp that you can get at a hardware store, holding those 3 wires together. And then I have thinner wire. This is 28 gauge wire, and I'm just leaving it on the spool. I'm just taking an end of it, I'm not cutting off any amount so that I can use as much as I need to. And you need to do some sort of pattern, some sort of weaving pattern on these 3 wires. It doesn't matter which ones. I can link my other videos below in case you want to use a different pattern, but I'm just going to use this really simple and easy one, which involves wrapping the wire around 3 times. So that was 1 little loop. This is 2, just right around the bottom 2 wires. And the 3rd loop right here. So it's wrapped around the bottom 2 wires 3 times. And now I'm going to do the same thing right here around the top 2 wires. So that's 1. I'm bringing the wire up in the back, around to the front, and then right here underneath those top 2 wires. So loop number 2, loop number 3. So just like that, and now it's back to around the bottom 2 wires. And once this gets a little longer, I am going to remove it from the clamp, because I will no longer need it, and I'll just hold it in my hand so I can show you a little bit closer as well. Alright, so here we go, and push it together also so it's nice and compact. So here is what we have so far, and you want to just keep going with it for about 1 inch or however big your stone is, because we are going, this is going to be like the side of the pendant that goes on the side of the stone. Alright, so when it is longer like this, you can start thinking about if it is long enough for the edge of the stone. So you would just take it and bend it, because you want it to, go around the stone, so you want it to be half of a circle, roughly, in shape. And then you can just actually put your stone there and see how it is. So I see I have a hole right here and another one right there. So mine needs to be a little longer, maybe like this much longer, except on this end. This is where my wire is. So I'm going to go ahead and go maybe this much more. Alright, so now it's just a tiny bit longer and the stone will fit better. I actually grabbed a slightly different stone, same shape and size, but mine had like a little chip where one of the holes was. So this is a chevron amethyst stone, and now it'll fit really nicely. There's even like a little bit of slack, a little bit of room, which is fine. I'd rather have that than have it be too tight. So now I'm going to take this wire, the one that is the closest, the inside wire, I'm going to bend it down. Try and create a sharp angle, 90-degree angle like that. This thinner wire, it's in the back here. I'm just putting it up, and what you can do is you can wrap it around the top 2 wires a few times, and it'll also make it kind of get out of your way. So I wrapped it 3 times around the top 2 wires. So now you can actually slide your stone up if you want to see what it looks like. Then you can remove it if you want it to kind of stay out of your way. But here is the stone and what it looks like so far. There's quite a bit of room here. So if you want it to be just a little tighter, you can move it like this and just unravel a few stitches right here. So it'll be like that. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. I think I'm going to unravel just a couple here so it's maybe like this, just a tiny bit tighter. Alright, so now you can kind of bend this up so it fits nicely around the stone. Here I have that. And I'm going to take this wire here, the very top of the 3 wires that are, you know, coming out of here, the very top one, the very inside one, and I'm going to bend it like this to hold this shape. And now you can flip it over. So here is what it looks like so far. And now I'm going to work on these 2 wires right here that we have left. You can flip it upside down if that makes it easier. So I'm going to straighten them out a little bit. And the way that I'm going to work on them is I'm going to put this around just the bottom wire. So just around the very bottom wire, tiny little loop, and do that 4 times. 2, 3, and 4. Oops. So there you have that. Now I'm going to bring it around both of the wires. So I have 1 loop around both, 4 loops around just the one, and now I'm going back to just the bottom one and doing just 4 loops again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then around both. So here is what it is looking like so far, and you want to go ahead and keep going with that for a little while. Alright, so now that it's a little longer, what you want to do is kind of move this wire out of the way, and now we're going to go just around this bottom wire. We're going to do this a lot, and we are also in a little bit here going to be adding a few little beads. Alright, so here is how much I have so far, and I'm getting ready to add my first bead, just a teeny tiny little copper bead. I am just going to slide it down. I'm just going to slide it on down. There it is there. And now you want to hold this bead. You want to push this down as far as it goes and hold the bead and then continue wrapping. So your first wrap needs to be, you know, really nice and tight so it is holding the bead, so that it holds the bead in place, and then you can just keep going and now it'll stay in place there on your wire. Right, so I added a little more wire there, and now I'm going to add a second bead, and this is going to be a slightly larger bead, but you can do anything that you want. So here's what that looks like. I'm pulling down so all of the wraps are nice and tight, and I'm just wrapping around, continuing to wrap around that wire. Both of the beads are now being held in place. Alright, so I'm going to stop at this point. This is what I have so far. My wire ends right there. And I'm going to get back to this wire here that we have here. So I'm going to actually cut it about this much. So if you can see that, about that much off. So there we go. Now I'm going to take my round nose pliers. I'm going to flip it over some in the back of the pendant now. I'm going to grab the wire with my pliers, the very tip, and make a little loop. Sorry, it's a little tricky to do this on camera, but I'm making a little loop, and I'm just going with it until I get to the end. Now you can flip it back, right side up. So that is what it looks like. Now, this is the front of the pendant. You just want to bend. You're kind of going with the curve of the spiral, but we're no longer using the round nose pliers. We're just using our fingers. So hold this pendant however you need to kind of bend with that and have it kind of continue to go in that spiral. Sorry, this is so hard for me to do on camera, but there we go. So I'm bending it like that. I'm going to use my pliers here for a second. And there we go. Here's my little bend. I'm going to try and get it a little closer. There we go, like that. So now I'm going to hold it right side up again. And I'm going to bring this wire this way. So here we go. Like this. So we have our little loop, our little curl, and then our wire. I'm going to move these wires just out of the way. I'm going to push them back. So now with this wire, we're going to make little loops. And I'm just using my fingers. If you want to practice this a little bit on just a plain wire so that you know what kind of loops you want to make before you just do it by hand, because it gets a little messed up if you end up having to unbend it and then rebend it. The wire gets crooked. So I made 2 little loops with the wires. And now I'm actually going to add a little bit more because it's over. I want to make just one tiny loop up here without a bead in it. And I need to kind of wrap just a tiny bit more. Alright, so I did my last little loop. I think I actually want it to be a tiny bit smaller than that. There we go. And now I'm going to cut off this wire here, the thin wire. Cut that off. If you've got some pliers, go ahead and squeeze it down. And now we're going to take this wire and we're going to put it through right there. See, right there, right between the stone and then this top thing that we did here. Like that. And I'm going to bend the wire so that it stays in place. So there's room to kind of mess around with these little curly things and get them the shape you want and bend them how you want, but you can do that at the end. So this is what I have so far. And I'm going to take this wire and I'm going to bring it down this way. So just like this. And I'm going to cut it so there is about this much. Cutting off. And now I'm going to use my round nose pliers and make another little curly out of this wire up here. So just going to grab the end and make a little spiral loop. I'm going to use flat nose pliers now to continue with this loop. I'm going to bend it in there. See that? And a tiny bit more. Okay, roughly like that. So now we have a little curly thing up here to match the one on the bottom. Okay, so very slight change of plans. I didn't like the way that curl was looking, being bare, so I just kind of opened it up a tiny bit and added this tiny bit of the thin gold wire that you see wrapped around there, and then just closed the curl back up. I didn't like completely unravel it or anything. So here is what it looks like so far. All right, now let's work on the bail. So first we're gonna get rid of this wire right here. We're gonna move that out of the way. So initially I kind of just bent it here. I'm gonna actually go ahead so it's a little bit more stable and bend it one more time around this center wire that's coming through here. So I'm going to bring it down like this, and I'm going to cut it off. And this little loose end of it, I'll go ahead and just make a little swirl. This is the back of the pendant, so it's not super important what you do, what this looks like. However you want to bend this wire to just kind of get it out of the way so it's not getting caught on anything. So there we have it. That's what it's going to look like on the back. So getting back to the front, now I have two wires, which are the top two from this little thing going this way, and this one of course coming through the center. So I'm going to take the first of the two wires, and I'm going to bend it up to try to have it be near that center wire, like that. And then same with this one. I'm going to try to have it so this is in the middle. This is the one coming all the way through. So like this, three wires like this. I'm going to hold it like this because I'm going to weave around it with my thin little gold wire now. So with my thin gold wire, I'm going to go right underneath, and I'm going to make 3 loops around the bottom 2 wires. So that was 1, 2, and 3. 3 loops, and now 3 loops around the top 2 wires. So exactly the same pattern that we did right here. 2 and 3, and now bring it underneath the top, and 1 and 2 and 3, and just keep going with it for a little while so that it's long enough that you can bend it into a bail. Alright, so here's how much I have so far, and now I'm going to work just on these 2 wires. So I bent the rightmost one out of the way, so I have these 2 left, and I'm going to do the same pattern that I did below when we just had the 2 wires, where I do once around both and then 4 times around the bottom one. So I'm going to just keep going with that for a little while. Alright, so here is how much I have. I just counted, and the little, you know, the little taller pieces that you see where it's wrapped around the 2 wires, it's 11 of those. So just to give you an idea of how long it is. And then we are going to take this wire here and bend it just a little bit out of the way so that we can keep wrapping around this wire for quite a while. So just go ahead and keep wrapping around this wire here. Alright, so this is how much I have. I'm going to cut this wire off now and use my pliers just to press it down so it's not sticking out. Alright, and now we can form our bail. So you're just going to take this part here and you're going to bend it to create a little bail. However big, you know, if you like your bails a little bigger, then obviously just make that part a little longer. So this is how big I want my bail to be. And now we're going to take these 2 wires, we're going to pass them through right here between the stone and this part here. So it's a little tricky, you might have to bend them to get them to go through there, but just go ahead and kind of squeeze them through and pull them out. This is why it's good to have a little bit of slack and not have this be right up next to the stone, so you have some room to do this later on. Alright, so here they are all pulled through. So here's what it looks like in the back. They're just going through. This is an extra wire. So we can just get rid of that right now. We can cut it. I'm going to cut it nice and short and just kind of curl it. Make a tiny little curl to make it not sharp and get it out of our way. And there we go. There's another wire there, so I'm just gonna actually tuck it right under. So there we have it, out of our way. All right, now getting back to the front here. So I'm gonna cut this wire, this innermost wire, like this, so there's just enough for me to make a loop. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna bend it up so it's sticking straight up. We are gonna put it down, touching this, but just for now, so that I can make a loop easier, so I can get back in here. I'm gonna go ahead and make a little loop with the wire that we just cut. Like that. And I want it to keep going, so using your fingers now to help, we want it to make a little swirl. So using my fingers and then using my pliers as well. And you can use this wire too, you can kind of pull on it to help bend in the right direction that you want it to go. All right, so there it is. It's making a nice loop. There we go, like that. And actually this wire here, I want it to be, sorry about this, I want it to be in the back of this loop. So I should have kept it in the back so it wouldn't get stuck here in the front. So here we go, like this. So it's in the back. And what you can do here is use some nylon pliers to press this down if you want. This way they don't damage or scratch the wire. So here is what that looks like. And then this wire here, I'm going to cut it, leave just a little bit so I can grab onto that with my round pliers and make a little curl, a little loop. So now I'm turning it to the back and I'm making a little loop. There we go. Now I'm bringing it back to the front and grabbing that little loop and just bringing it up. So it's a little curl. Here is what that, so there we go. So that's what it looks like. As you can see, my bail, it's a little crooked. So you can grab it with your pliers and just kind of turn it in the right direction. There we go, because it got a little bit shifted there with all the moving those wires. So there we have it. So here is the finished pendant and what that looks like. And then here, here's the back of it.